Let's spend a few minutes talking about all-in-one security appliances. Now, an all-in-one security appliance essentially merges lots of different network functions into a single piece of hardware. And they can be known by many different names, such as a unified threat management device or a web security gateway, several other names. Now, an all-in-one security appliance can be really useful in several different types of situations. For example, if you're with a small startup company that doesn't have a whole lot of cash to spend on networking, then an all-in-one security appliance can be a very, very beneficial thing because you don't have a lot of budget to buy a separate firewall and a separate spam filter and a separate router and a separate switch and so on. They're also useful in situations where you don't have a lot of physical room. For example, if you work for a small company that simply has one small closet designated as the data center, then you may not have a lot of room for lots of different devices. And once again, it's really nice to grab one single device, plug it into your network, and have it provide lots of different services. Another situation where all-in-one devices are useful are cases where you have a remote office. And that remote office may or may not have A, a lot of room, or B, someone there who's technical enough to manage it. And so you're going to need to manage it remotely from your office somewhere else. In which case, it's really nice to have just one interface to access all these different functions instead of having to communicate with lots of different network devices. Now, all-in-one security appliances will vary in functionality based on manufacturer, based on model, and so on. Let's take a look at some of the functionality that's commonly implemented in all-in-one security devices. A list of commonly implemented features in all-in-one security appliances are shown here. Now, I have to point out that several years ago, I did some work for a company that produced all-in-one security devices, and it was amazing how many functions they were able to cram into this one little box. For example, they frequently implement URL filtering. They can also implement content inspection. This is for your web-based connections, making sure that HTTP connections meet certain criteria and the content being accessed via HTTP meets certain criteria. And it may also include malware protection in this functionality to make sure that the content coming back does not contain viruses, trojans, worms, and so on. Usually they include some type of spam filtering, so you can run all your email for your organization or the branch office or whatever through that security appliance and filter out the spam before it ever gets to the end user, so they don't click on things they're not supposed to click on in their email messages. It may include network switching functionality, so you don't have to have a separate switch. You just have your all-in-one security appliance. It also provides the switching that you need to support your network segment. And as such, it may include a network router, so you can have an uplink port that connects to a network backbone, which is really nice. And as such, it may include a firewall on that connection so that you can set up firewall rules and you can log connections going in and out of the firewall. It may also include an intrusion detection function to identify intrusion attempts. It may even include an uplink, for example, your T1 line through an integrated CSU/DSU. And some of them, the company I did some work for, included this in their all-in-one appliance. That's bandwidth shaping, which basically allows you to prioritize certain types of network traffic in order to make it a little more efficient. So the question at this point is, are these all-in-one security appliances a good thing? Are they a good idea to implement? And the answer is, it depends, because they do have their place as compared to their traditional network counterparts that are all separated out into individual components. Basically, if you're dealing with a small office situation or you're dealing with a situation where you have limited budget, they're not bad at all. The problem is that if you implement an all-in-one appliance, they do a lot of things reasonably well. They don't do any one particular thing extremely well. If you're in a situation where you need to have the best performance, say, from your network switch, and the best performance from your network router, and the best performance from your firewall, you'll probably be better served by buying individual network components designed and optimized specifically for those functions. Now, does that mean these all-in-one appliances are bad? Not really. They actually work fairly well. It's better to have a network appliance that's doing all these functions reasonably well than to be missing certain components from your overall network strategy plan. So in essence, that's how all-in-one security appliances work.